Yes. Yes.
Okay, council,
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. Our second special meeting was scheduled to begin at 6:15. So this is a special meeting study session. And the purpose of this meeting was to review the council vacancy procedures ordinance. And roll call was taken at our, the first special meeting. And therefore, we have a quorum present for this special meeting. Therefore, the special meeting study session, I will go through the agenda, which is number one, roll call. But again, roll call was taken, first meeting, and we do have a quorum present. Number two, agenda. Number three, discussion council vacancy procedure ordinance. Number four is public comment. And number five is adjournment. And a motion would be in order to accept the special meeting study session agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is a motion by Mr. Jones, supported by Ms. Abdo, to accept this agenda for the special meeting. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Mr. Wilhite?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
You are now in this special meeting, and what you have before you is an introduction. Let me back up a little bit. Under the previous council legislative body, Mayor Pro Tem had assigned a special committee to review the process for filling a vacancy. That committee consisted of Mayor Pro Tem Tina Talley, Councilwoman Roscoe, and Councilwoman Abdo. There were two meetings, and they met for the discussion, and so it was decided that there would be an ordinance to reflect the process, procedure, also an application process, and so we thought it best to bring this matter to this legislative body, this current legislative body, for you to discuss the process. And so I would like perhaps the members of the special committee to maybe, to discuss and elaborate more on, your findings, or, what you recommend, just to kind of update everyone for this. So for you all to kind of review, and then the ordinance was drafted up. We worked closely with the committee as well as with our city attorney, the deputy clerk, and I. And so if you have any questions, then it's just open for you all to discuss the process.
Okay. So Celeste is going to do like a quick synopsis of kind of what we've come to and how we got to this point. So.
Well, we had a couple meetings and went through different, whether the next in line, going through an application process type thing, doing interviews, so on and so forth. And then the time frame, kind of went off a time frame that Mark had suggested too. He had a really good day by day, which we pretty well agreed on. And agreed that if you read the application, it's kind of just basics, kind of like just wanting to know a little bit more about them, and a little bit, 100 words or less. I mean, that's not much, just to say why they would want to hold this position. And then, you hold, we decided that we'd hold an interview process where there'd be a standard 4, 5, 6 questions, pretty well 4 or 5 questions, but then each candidate, each board member could submit a question. And some of us might submit the same question, so you might not end up with 7 more questions for them. You might end up with 5, or 4. But we did it that way. As you see here, we had like 3 examples for the beginning, just 3 standard questions. And then the reason we decided to have each council person submit a question is because whether this happens now or in 10 years from now, the question may be different than if we just listed 10 different questions. So, as far as like what's going on in the city or why what we would ask them and why. So we pretty well agreed on that and have a scale to rate it on, and hopefully we never have to use it again or ever. But we got to have something in place. And we kind of went back and forth, and this is, and with Steve, and I think we come up with about the best way to do it, and because we do need to have something definitely set in place.
Through the chair.
Thank you, Celeste, and yes.
If I'm sorry, I just want to add, and again, this, what you have before you is an ordinance, because, once the process is in place, it's set, in an ordinance, it takes a, two-thirds vote to change it, so it's not something that could change, but there's a continuity of the process, and you want it in black and white in its simplest form to follow, so we're not, we were just caught off, guard with the 2 vacancies. It's like, oh, what do we do? We're all trying to, and the charter gives, the guidelines, it says it must be filled within 45 days, but it doesn't tell you how to do that.
Right.
So this is a framework for you all to work from based off of the recommendation from the special committee. And again, I thought it was, prudent for you all, this new body, for everybody to kind of look at this ordinance. Now, this is the introduction of the ordinance, okay? So it's on the agenda tonight for you to approve the introduction and first reading. Any changes that's needed, doesn't say this is one and done, final. This is for you all to go through. If there's any changes that we have to, that you are recommending, any errors or anything you want to point out or anything, then we will make sure that when we bring this back to you for the second reading, that all of those changes and things are made in that final document. But again, this is, introduction. And so I just want to commend the 3 council members who took the time to meet and put the work in. It's a lot of work, and put the work in so that you all have guidelines and a working document so that you can make your decisions in your discussion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to open up the discussion. I'm going to have Celeste make a comment, then I'm going to start with Mark, because he actually called over the weekend to kind of get clarity. So thanks, Mark, for calling. Go ahead, Celeste.
So the one thing I want to point out on the ordinance is section 2.22, where we ask any applicant who has a felony conviction anywhere in the United States would not be eligible to be approved by council to fill the vacancy. And the reason we decided that, because that's not something that's asked usually when you get petitions for a ballot to get elected. This is an elected position by the people. This is an appointed position by us, and we're the ones who are responsible for whoever we would put in that seat. And so we thought that was an important part of it all, that that we didn't have to worry about any of that. So, but anyways, I just wanted to point that out in the ordinance.
Thanks, Celeste.
Can I just add one point on that?
Oh, I'm
too?
sorry. Steve?
On that point, while under state law, it is possible that a person who has a felony conviction in their past can run for most office positions if the felony conviction didn't arise out of your participation in a government activity in which you were stealing money from the government.
Gotcha.
When the person runs as a candidate, there's months and months in which the public has an opportunity to vet that person and decide whether they want to vote for him or not. Here, you're on a very short fuse. So if we had applicants who had a felony conviction, there's not a lot of time to go out and get those records and try to vet that to determine whether or not you would be satisfied based on the nature of that conviction, that it's somebody you would want to put on the council. So rather than get into that problem, that's why this provision just says, if you got a felony conviction, you're not going to get appointed. That doesn't mean you can't run the next time there's an election.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Mark?
First of all, I want to thank the clerk's office for putting this together. I had a lot of questions about it. I talked to Tina and James and came over and talked to the clerk for quite a while. I do have a couple of issues with this. I know that I was one of the ones that pushed real hard, and I was in Tina's ear all year last year, and it got pushed back and pushed back. Well, when I first saw this, I thought that this was the final draft and this is the way it was gonna go, and that kind of put me in valve toss. But anyway, I have some questions on, like section 220. It talks about the council filling the vacancy by announcing the vacancy and taking applications from in 5 days. I think the time restraint, number one, if I cancel Christmas and my family wouldn't have any problem with you guys trying to fill my spot in 5 minutes or 5 days, but when I looked at when I sent out that sheet to you guys last year, I was looking at it, and my lowest, it was 7 days, and I had a mourning period or whatever, but 7 days, at least that way, if it happened to be me, I'm planted before you guys looking to go replace me. So I was wondering how, if we have a city council meeting and something happens the very next day, how are we gonna get that information out in 5 days? So I wanted to discuss that with the group on the 5 days thing. Let's see. The other thing was, and I agreed, the felony thing, I think that should be on the application. Because I would like to see, we talked about the questions and this and that, and my attitude toward the questions are a little bit different too, because in, I think it's section 2.25, we come up with a question, we give it to the person, they answer it, and there's no follow-up question. I think, and don't get me wrong, I understand that there's a time constraint situation. We have something that shouldn't be open like this, but I don't want to push something and have us settle and not cover it completely. And the thing is with this, if we had the application and we had questions that they could fill out on the questionnaire when they fill out an application, then when we get into the review process, then if we have a follow-up question, if they're not clear on something, then we can ask it. And then we can get some clarification. So, I understand that you're looking at this and it's like, all right, they're filling out an application and they give us a 100-word essay on why they want to do it. But if we ask them the questions, then we have the opportunity to do follow-up questions, and it would take less time. So, I looked at that, and the other, the section before that, it says a council interview up to 6 applicants. So if we have 10 people, how do we eliminate the top 4 or the bottom 4? I wasn't.
I'm not sure how we got to the 6 candidates. I don't know how we got to the 6 candidates. That was something that was kind of caught me off guard a little bit too. But Steve, what is your thoughts on some of the things he's brought up regarding this document?
I'm not sure I understood all the questions, because if there is a question, an answer on the application that you want more clarification on, that could be your question. when each of you get to come up with a question in addition to what's in the application for the interview. One of your questions could be, on question number 3 on the application, you said this, can you explain what you meant by it? That could be your question, for example. So, but yes, there's no follow-up to that then. You ask that question. If you still don't understand what they said, then there is no follow-up then. But you could get one question as to what's in the application. The 5 days, it could be a few days longer.
Yeah,
That's
because I
the
think
time
he had
period.
7.
It basically
I
said-
thought he
I
had put
had 7 to 10, because
Yeah.
then it would put it, because we have to make a decision in 45 days.
Right.
So 10 days, that would still put you at 35
35
days.
days, yeah.
And,
I agree.
you know, and
Yeah, I think so.
and my thing about the questions, if we come up, there's 7 of us up here, if we come up with 7 questions, and we put that on the application, they take their time to fill it out.
There'll only be 6 because one of you will be dead.
Oh, don't say dead, just say
Well,
vacant.
Excuse me.
Don't say dead.
Okay,
Vacant.
all right.
Anytime you're doing this, there's only 6 people.
Okay, but the whole thing is at this point, there's 7 of us. So I get that. And say one person is leaving politics, then even 6 questions. But if you put those questions on an application, then they have to fill it out, and it's onto it's on them to fill it out. And then when we get into an interview process, well, you answered this question like this, what exactly did you mean or whatever your question would be. And it's not going to add any time to the interview process.
Celeste, because I think we talked about why we did it that way. Did you want to address that?
Well, a thing of it is if we do that, we have to submit the questions on this application now for the ordinance, correct?
No.
Isn't that what we discussed?
No, the application, this is a sample application to start with, but at the time that event actually occurred, the clerk could make modifications based on your request to the application. That's why we first, at one point, we had this application buried in the ordinance, and we took that out for this very
Okay.
purpose, to create the flexibility that the application could change at the time you needed to use it. So, yeah, you could submit questions, because there could be, I guess the best example is there could be something happening, some event happening in the state or whatever that you wanted to focus on a little bit with
Right.
the applicants.
Right.
And you wouldn't be able to do that if those questions are all written way ahead of time.
Yeah, and did we want to put all them questions on the application? Because I thought we kind of wanted to
Wanted the one-on-one.
yeah, we
Yeah.
wanted to be able to answer right on the spot. We don't want them to have to really think it out, how are they going to respond on the spot? I want to see how they can respond with a question, that's what they do in interviews.
Yeah.
Right, so
Well,
the questions we ask, now, I'm like you, put them on the application, they go home, they fill out the question, they get everybody's opinion, and get the beautiful answer. But
Right.
on the interview, to me, that's one of the best times to ask the question. Boom. We ask the question, you give us the answer, and we get the actual reaction.
And then we can evaluate it.
Then, another thing about that, though, are we gonna discuss what questions we gonna ask among each other prior to that? So if Mark asks a question, is he gonna really ask the same question I was gonna ask?
Well, if you hear your question answered, I guess they ain't going to answer the question that's already asked.
That's what I'm saying. If if we have the same question, and we interview and answer the questions, should the questions be discussed among us prior to?
Madam Chair.
I don't
I'm
think
sorry,
you
Mr.
want,
Wadsworth? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Steve? Okay.
I don't think you want to get together and deliberate over the questions outside of the meeting. So that's why it says in here, you each have the opportunity to have one question. And if there could be less than 6 questions, if 2 of you happen to have the same question.
Right.
So in other words, we know what the questions are before the interview. That way we know we won't be asking the same question.
You would know on your own
Okay.
question.
So if he asks the same question, well,
And then-
I don't need to ask the question.
Mark-
Man,
Right,
I
you
already
just,
been asked.
right,
And I think
exactly.
as to the-
I'm sorry.
She go first.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Council. So this interview form, again, is just an example for you. This would not be part of the application. This would be something that we would hand to you. So if if you had, when it comes time to interview, you would have this blank evaluation form. And what I would suggest is that, based off the essay, based off of the application that's submitted, you come up with your questions, come up with 2 or 3 and have them listed here. And then, so let's say someone asks the same question that you had, it's answered. Well, then when it comes time for you to ask your question, well, maybe, okay, well, that question's been answered. I can go to my next point that I had. So at least it's not like written in stone. This is again, it's suggestive, it's just a framework for you
Yeah.
to work in. I don't think you should lock yourself in, like, oh, this form, we gotta have just one question, and if they ask it, I can't ask another question. It's just a framework for you to work in. This blank form would be handed to you, during the interviewing process, so.
Through the chair.
Who hasn't spoken
I
yet?
did.
Ms. Abdo hasn't?
I'm
She hasn't.
Yeah, Ms. Abdo hasn't spoken yet.
Okay, I agree with Mark on this, within 5 days after the vacancy. First of all, we don't have a method of communicating to our contingents, except for social media. We don't have a newspaper that's out there. We need a longer time period that they can find out about it. And I agree also, I don't think we should limit it to 6 applicants.
Okay, no, I agree. Okay, thank you, I think that's good.
I'm done.
James, let me get James in here.
Yeah, I guess this would be more for the attorney too, but the felony conviction part, are we gonna require them to do a background check? if we receive it?
Yeah, everybody's got to do an eye check.
Yeah.
Okay, so they re-receive that back?
We would get
It wouldn't
that
just be
back.
like a check mark on here?
No. Yeah, how did we say we was gonna do that, though? I mean, because like Mark said, how do they know they're gonna be,
When they pick up the application, they're going to get the
Eye
piece of
check.
paper that says you got to get the eye check.
okay.
And then when they turn that all into the clerk can determine, if there's a felony conviction on there, then they're going to be told that
Okay.
you can't proceed with this application because one of the conditions of the ordinance is you can't have a felony conviction.
So you wouldn't even see that, I'm sorry, through the chair.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even see that application, so before we would,
Process.
process that. And another thing, just 2 points here, on section 220, extending that time from 5 to 7 days. But I want to ask Steve, can we say 7 business days, or is it just 7 days? And the reason I say that, because we're not going to see anything only, just during business hours. That's when we're going to be
It could be
processing.
business days.
So if you say
That would
7
Okay.
days, so I'm just asking, can we say 7 business
Business
days?
days.
I mean, the 45 days is calendar days.
Right, calendar days.
So you're burning more of those 45 days by making it 7 business days, which theoretically could be 9
9 days, correct.
Yeah. Mr. Wadsworth?
If I can, I was doing good until you said if one of us are dead. But that's all right. But saying all that, and personally, I still think it should be the next one up, but that's not gonna happen, I can understand that. But as far as the felony, you've already said that Michigan law allows a felon to run. We've seen a president run a convicted felon. So is that necessary to put that on there?
It's after you've served your time, if you were sentenced, and after you've paid your
Okay,
restitution
I
and
understand what you mean.
you've burned past your probation period, then you're eligible to run.
Okay, now my next point is, are we gonna sit in a group with one person there asking questions? Is that the intention of this?
Yes.
Is that true? Okay. And when
yeah.
we come up with a score, do we again have to go publicly and tell the public how we scored? Or is that our own vote?
It's a public document.
Yeah.
This is a public meeting, it's a public document. You score it out, and based off of your scores, collectively, then,
But, okay, we do the interviews,
Right.
and number 3 gets the most points.
I mean, you're not gonna make that decision the night of the
Okay, but let me-
interviews.
Okay, we come up with a candidate, number 3 got the most points. Okay, which means the next meeting, we would put that person on. Now we have to stand up and say, well, I gave the number 2 10 points, I gave number 3.
No.
That's, you know, that's what we had to do in January.
Well,
Well,
you
you-
voted. There was a
Right.
little
Yeah.
different. You were voting. This
You-
is different, a different process.
You will have to turn in the score sheet.
Right.
And these documents are public records, so somebody could do a FOIA request to figure out the math on that if they wanted to.
Right.
So the person that didn't win can come back and ask for his score sheet.
Yeah. Or anybody else's, or even one of the candidates, other than the candidate, could ask for the score sheets after the fact, too.
Okay, all right.
Les, did you have something?
And again, my
You
final
good?
comment, I still think
I
it should be,
gotta get Mark.
it should be the next person up, but that ain't gonna happen, all right.
Mark and then David.
Okay, so, getting back to the questions, having a questionnaire for them to fill out, the reason that I was looking at that, and I agree, a one-on-one interview process is one thing, but it puts the onus on them. You ask a question, they give you a written thing. If there's something you don't understand or you don't like about it, then you question them in the review. Because on here, it says, you know, and we would definitely want to change this, but it says each councilman will be able to identify with one question, but there will be no follow-up questions. Well, if you have somebody and they're answering, and at the end of their answer, I got a blue toothbrush, you know, it's like, all right, well, that didn't make any sense to me, but you don't have the ability to ask them to clarify or whatever, and maybe something's unclear. But to me, looking at it from this point of view now, I would want to have the most information that I could get. And yes, we are gonna have an interview process, but if I ask a question, you know, what is your foresight for the future of this city? And they answer a little bit, then when they come into the review process, then I can say, well, exactly what did you mean on this or that? And that way they can clarify, and
I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but
because
I
it
just.
won't take any more time.
But I get them here, ask the question, let's get the genuine response. You know, sitting there having them think about it, write it out, like David said, you know, you can get feedback from all over the place. If you're on the spot, you think, you know, think on your feet as far as I think you should be able to respond with the questions that, why we gotta have it written out?
I don't have a problem with the response. I have a problem with not being able to ask them to clarify something. If
Okay.
the way that this
Maybe
is
we
written right
tweak
here,
that process.
I ask them, what is your goal for the future? And they start talking about something that is their goal, but it has nothing to do with the city. I don't have the ability, the way that it's written right here. I'm just saying that we have to.
Well, that's why we're having a study session.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, that we have to clear this
Right.
up. And
Right.
that was just one of the ways that I thought could save us time if
Okay.
we wrote some questions down that they can answer.
No, but
I would suggest
Let
that
me-
there has to be some limit on the number of follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Oh,
You could be here-
absolutely.
Yeah.
You could be here all night with one candidate.
Right,
And
exactly.
the
That's what
rest
we're
of the
talking about, the
candidates don't get a
time.
chance to talk.
David?
Well, I was gonna ask about when we was talking about, them seeing the score. That's only upon when a person requests to see the score. It's nothing that's put out for the public just to see. You're only gonna see the results if someone requests to see it, correct?
Yeah, we have to, it's a public record once it's created, and
Right, but it's public
somebody
record,
have to
but
FOIA to
They
get,
have to ask for it, they have to request for it. It's not something you can go up here and look on the board and see. It's,
yep, unless you voted you wanted to publish it, you could.
you could, but.
But no, otherwise it would be a document that would be in the clerk's office, and it would be subject to FOIA like a lot of
Yeah.
documents in a clerk's office.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I'm just wanting to say, because, you know, I think it'd be better if it's in the clerks and the person upon request, Yes.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes,
may?
Ms.
So,
Madam Clerk.
to answer your concern, basically what would happen, you have your interview process. Once you're done with the interviews, you've scored them out, at the end, then we would collect all that, collect everything. Once you have that, then, as, you know, everything would be put together, and then we would, at your next council meeting, you know, then we would have a summary of these were the scores for the, you know, for the number of candidates that were interviewed, and based off of the ordinance, that this person received the highest number, therefore, you know, it is recommended that the council approve, you know, appoint this person, you know, and again, there would be a memo with all of that. It
Right.
was not like, you know, I know Bill was concerned, the individual sheets, I gave this person, that person, everything would be collected
Right.
and compiled, put together, and of course, we would have, you know, we would, you know, talk to the city attorney, talk
Right.
to the mayor pro tem, and then everything would come back to the council, you know, in the format of a resolution for you all to vote accordingly. Also, I know Ms. Abdo's concerned, you know, like with the 7 days, you know, like getting that information out for individuals. I will tell you this, the last 3, 4 vacancies that we had, I was just amazed that before we could even process what was going on, we already had people
Yeah.
submitting, I mean, literally, the
Yeah,
vacancy, I don't want
Yeah.
to use the D word, but the vacancy occurred like on a weekend, that Monday. We had people coming in submitting, you know, letters and all these things, and we were like, whoa, hold on.
Right.
We don't know what we're doing yet, you know? So the word does get out, and that is
It
taken,
does.
you know, Ms. Abdo, Councilwoman Abdo, to your point, you know, making sure, and I think by allowing the 7 days,
Business
and
7
business days, but it does say that, you know, the council shall fill the vacancy on council by announcing the vacancy and taking applications from the eligible residents within the 5 days after, or 7 days, business days after the vacancy occurs. So there will be time to put that out there, and for individuals to return their applications. And of course, the applications will be available online as well, which we did receive a lot of those letters and things, you know, electronically. So I think the 7 days allows that time, enough time. Am I?
And reading it, I would say maybe it should be the clerk announcing, because there could be a 7-day period in which there is no meeting.
exactly,
So
yeah,
the clerk is going to
Yeah.
be the one that
Yeah.
announces that vacancy exists.
right, right.
7 business days.
One more. So then, Steve, what would that announcement, would
You just-
it have to be, once that vacancy occurs, does the council have to take action in order for that announcement? Or who actually makes that announcement?
I think either if you've got evidence of the death of a council person or the resignation of a council person, they've given you some written document, that triggers the
Yeah,
7 business days by which we have to have the applications of it. That's
Then-
made public with it.
Then we should, I would think that once we had notification of that, then we would communicate with the mayor pro tem at that point. I'm just throwing that out there, and then from the chair, you know, to the rest of the council on moving forward.
Maybe,
You know-
it could be the mayor pro tem's announcing the vacancy if you wanted. to.
how is that announcement made?
Well, we just go out publicly on the website.
Hear ye, right now.
Yeah, if there's no meeting.
Everybody comedian tonight,
If there happened to be a meeting within that 7-day business
but what
days,
if it isn't?
then I think you just got to do
The
it
clerk.
announce it on the website, that there's a vacancy
What
has
about if there's,
occurred.
what about if there's time to put it in the official news?
Through the chair?
Pardon?
Through the chair? Yeah, that part.
What about if there's time to put it in the official newspaper?
I mean, we can do all of that, you know. you know, but we would do, you know, all of that. But again, I think once we know the vacancy, I think it would be prudent on the clerk's office to communicate with the mayor pro tem and the mayor's office. Okay, there's a vacancy, we're going to, you know, kind of like, okay, we're going to announce this or put it in the paper or however, and then we notify everyone accordingly, you know, for that.
Dan,
And again, this
probably
is,
through
this
your
is a
office would
guide.
be the quickest, right? I mean, to get that posted, right?
Yeah, but once I would think that, you know, we're the clerk, we receive the notice, the filing, then we notify you as the chairperson, as well as legal counsel, the mayor's administration, and then we would go ahead and make that public notice, because we have our website, our social media page, and we, of course, our official newspaper.
Paper.
Right, and again, all of that's done digitally online, so we would make those, you know, those announcements, and then, you know, wait for the, you know, the responses with applications and
Okay.
things.
Ms. Abdo, did you have something?
Do we come to an agreement or talk about limiting it to 6? I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that limited to 6 candidates came from either.
Madam Chair, do you want that to be, council shall interview all qualified
Yeah.
applicants?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
All
so. Yeah, I
qualified.
don't think we should,
That'll
yeah,
work.
yeah, I think
That'll
that,
work.
yeah.
We agree.
If we can change that to, yeah, I don't want to put a limit, we shouldn't put a limit on that.
That was my only concern, and you addressed the 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ellen, with these changes we've talked about here, we got this item in there to vote on. What do we do with that?
So you will vote on the, for introduction, you know, and first reading, with the changes as discussed in the study session. And then for the second reading, all of those changes and things discussed, which, you know, the city attorney will make all of those, probably red letter it, you know.
Gotcha.
And all those changes as you all have discussed. And then at the next council meeting, you will vote for the second reading and final adoption of this ordinance. But tonight, you're just voting for introduction, first reading of this ordinance to include changes as discussed in the study session.
Okay.
Right,
okay.
Steve? Am I correct in that?
Yes.
That wording?
And then the follow-up question piece, I don't know, did we address that about the follow-up questions?
We addressed it twice, but we didn't come up with anything.
Yeah, how do we want
mean,
to figure out how do we want to address that?
We could put that each council person can ask not more than 2 follow-up questions, something like that, or...
Or a question
Or
plus
if
a
we're
follow-up.
having, yes, that's exactly
What'd
what I
you
was
say?
going to say.
So in other words, when you have the interview, that each council person would have one question to ask, and then also to include one follow-up question.
On
Does
that.
it,
That would be
does
fine.
that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah.
So
They can
yeah,
ask
Well, let
a
me-
question.
Can I
Yeah.
ask for one further question? If Mark asked the question, does each council person have the right to ask one follow-up question?
I think that would be fair.
What's that?
If one person asks a question, then can each of the council person follow up with a follow-up question?
So,
So you could have 5 follow-up questions on that initial question, yeah. Based
well,
on-
okay, keep in mind, that, let's say you have 8 candidates, and you got 6 questions, 6 questions plus a follow-up, that's 12 questions, and you
Right.
gotta keep in mind the time. So
Right.
if everyone has their one question that you ask and they answer it, but maybe someone wants to, ask a follow-up question, meaning that follow-up question was, I don't know, something on the application, something, but I think just allowing one follow-up question. You ask your one question, as you stated, and then one follow-up question, if necessary.
If necessary, that's the question, if
It's not like we're
necessary.
all gonna sit
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
We
Looking
wanna
better
have
on the
the right-
application, isn't it?
Yeah.
We just want to have the
No.
right to ask. a
Does that
follow-up.
make sense? So but again, everyone, you
Yeah.
have to keep in mind, and that we don't know if it's gonna work until we, and we pray
Right.
that we don't have to
Right.
do this, but at least you'll have a structure. And
Exactly.
you have something that in writing, and the only way that you know that it works unless it's implemented or executed, but the important thing that that you have a
Have some,
structure
yeah.
in order, in order to abide by. So, I don't know, that's just a suggestion, one question, and if needed, a follow-up, may be allowed to ask a follow-up question if necessary,
not like
if
everybody's
needed. I don't know the right
You
word
want,
for that.
Mark?
So tonight, when we vote on this, and it goes to the second reading, if we come up with questions, we address them in the second reading, and if there's-
Questions about,
if you go through and change all the things.
based off of what you all have agreed to.
Right.
Yes, and then something else comes up that we didn't think of or whatever, and we have to readdress it.
Better think of it tonight.
Yeah, well, that's what I was talking about.
So if, when we get our package, if something came up, could we maybe do a fix before the meeting?
Maybe have another study session.
For,
Then,
That would make.
We're
the
right
only,
back to square one.
Steve, correct me
You
if I'm
can-
wrong, the only thing that if you get your final document, that final document
Okay.
with all the changes that
Okay.
have been proposed for this evening, and then you get to that next meeting for your second reading, you say, well, wait a minute, thought about this, I don't know about this, I'd like to change this, then you can always postpone to the next council
Okay.
meeting.
Right.
Correct, you can
Yeah.
post.
Okay.
Yeah, you
And I'm
can-
with,
Does
we
that
don't
make
need a
sense?
big rabbit hole. We gonna keep
Right.
going
Oh,
deeper
yeah.
and deeper and deeper in this, and then we ain't gonna be like, we
Right.
ain't gonna be doing nothing.
Right.
So let's
Right.
start the process.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's
Yeah.
start the
Yeah,
process
we're not
and just keep
building
it
a piano.
moving.
And
Yeah,
if it's big, if it's major, again, we just postpone it
yeah,
from that next meeting to the following meeting, and if there's a change or correction, that could be made, and we'll
Okay.
bring it back to you for second reading and
yeah.
final
At
adoption.
least let's get it moving. Okay, agree. Are we good? Everybody? James, you have anything?
good.
You good? Okay, everybody's good. Let's roll.
Okay. All right. So you know what you're voting on this evening, right?
Yes.
Introduction, okay.
And make sure whoever make the motion is clear.
All right.
You making the motion?
I can make a motion.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Sounds
Just make
good.
sure you say with the, changes as discussed in the study session.
Right.
All right, thank you, council.
Okay.
That moves us on to number 4, which is public comment. This is a portion of the agenda that is set aside for those of you that are in the public. If you have comments that you'd like to make concerning what was discussed in this study session, you may do so. Raise your hand after you've been acknowledged by the chairperson. You will have 3 minutes for your comments. Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Any public comment for this particular, Ms. Crowd?
To say first. I was raised, it was a right to be able to vote, that every vote counts. Our forefathers wanted it to be a fair and impartial voice of the people. I see this ordinance as trying to steal the power from the voters. Prior practice, the next highest vote getter replaced the vacated seat, which I think was the fair way. Those who run, to be eligible to run, must be approved by the county. They've invested their time, money, and energy. Appointing is taking away the voice of the people. I hope the greed to take this power backfires. I intend to notify the public about this ordinance and want to be sure I state it correctly in simple English. This ordinance would be when there's a vacancy on the council, they would accept applications, and following questions, the council would appoint the person versus the next highest vote getter filling the seat? Is that
Correct.
right?
Correct.
All right. I'm
Okay.
good.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? If not, Madam Clerk, we'll close that out.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Number 5 is adjournment. The time is 7:26.
Support.
A motion by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Roscoe for the adjournment of this special meeting. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Wilhite?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We are adjourned for this special meeting.